Look at that little pissant. 1981. Look at him.
That's yours truly. It is here on a Wednesday. It is the third of 5 award-winning and blockbuster endeavors. It is Andrew Kaplan and Rich Mendes. Back in New York City, it is Mr. Joshua who gets the mile-high salute from me. He is here in the great cowboy state of Wyoming, across North America and around the world on this midweek Wednesday show. A lot to get into, a long way to go until 11 o'clock Eastern time and 8 o'clock out on the West Coast. I have a microphone. I've got a bullhorn. I've got a bully pulpit every fucking night. Right? I'm paid by my employer to give my opinion. And so give my opinion I do. By the same token, I wonder, and this is why I can't get very angry at people who are critical of me sometimes, what would people say about your life, the way that you do your things, if they really knew all your personal flaws and your intimate defects and your insecurities and your foibles and all that shit, what would they say about you?
And as far as the movie's concerned, basically the way I live my life, and I've lived my life for a long time like this, by gut feel. And gut feel here, at least for the time being, with what I see, tells me that this thing is going down the wrong track. There's no brakes on the train, and it's headed for a gigantic brick wall. And by the way, if this Joel Franco wants to call into the show here today, Kaplan, and he wants to talk to my audience, put him to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Put him to the front of the line. Because my audience will redirect and recoordinate his thought process in a jiff. Believe me.
You can't jump too quick to say, no, this is terrible. Because I've actually put my work in other people's hands without looking there and being in the editing room. And then it came out better than I probably could have produced it, or I didn't think it was going to be well. I didn't think it was going to be successful. And you know what? After it was said and done, people liked it.
How many times can you get kicked before you just finally don't get up? And, I think Dino felt like he was ready for the next level 15 years ago.
The views, the opinions, the edge, the all that stuff, that's Dino through and through. There is not a separate Dino on the air versus off the air. None. Now, am I different with my children? Of course. Am I different with my father? Yes. My wife? Of course.
There's a difference between doing a radio show and being on the radio and loving radio. SiriusXM, it is the DCS on SXM. Dino's Got Talent. America's Got Talent, Dino's Got Talent. So this show is the future. Today is day 1 of filming the Dino Costa movie. It's very exciting, it's invigorating, and we're going to continue to film. They're filming right now. There's cameras everywhere in the studio, Kaplan. I mean, there's cameras up my ass. Kaplan, great job. I'll see you in New York next week. Same thing with Mr. Gerbert.
I was working in Denver, Colorado, doing radio and television for about 10 years. And the station that I was with, the radio station I was with, was sold, or leased, I should say, to a guy out of Chicago. And what ended up happening was he essentially lied to everyone and fired virtually everyone, fired myself. I was out of a job. And on the advice of someone else in the business, I hired an agent. About 2 weeks later, after I hired this agent, the news came across that Chris Russo was leaving his longtime radio home of WFAN in New York and was joining SiriusXM Radio, where he was going to headline a new channel. I was further enthused to learn that my agent knew the guy who was going to be the program director at this Mad Dog Radio, Steve Torrey. So we ended up sending tape to Steve Torrey. Steve Torrey got back to my agent and said he liked what he had heard on the tape. When can we meet this guy, Dino? I was, now about 6-7 weeks out of work in Denver. And I felt so positive about this new Mad Dog Radio channel that I told my wife, we're packing up our stuff. What we can't bring with us, we're going to put into storage here in Denver. If we've got to come back for it at some point, fine, but we're leaving. We're going to New York. So when I got into town, my agent told Steve Torrey, hey, Dino's in town. Do you want to meet him? Yes. Set up a date to go meet them. Met Russo and Torrey. In fact, Russo took me out to lunch that day, and we talked about philosophy and vision for the channel and what I could bring and so on and so forth and all this stuff. Anyway, I didn't hear from them for like 2 or 3 days, and then my agent called me and he said, hey, they want you to go in and they want you to do a test show. So I went in, I did a test show. It was 3 hours. It was actually on the air.
This show is the future of...
And after it was finished, I went and saw Steve Torrey in his office. I said, Steve, what'd you think? And he said, no, it's obvious, it's clear that you don't need a partner, and liked what we heard, and Dino will call you. Okay? 1 day turns into 2, 2 days turns into 3. First week goes by, nothing from Torrey. So now I'm 7 fucking weeks living in this hole-in-the-wall fucking apartment in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Mad Dog Radio had completely filled out their on-air roster by this point. Every fucking show had been filled by someone not named Dino. I'm working, delivering this fucking produce every morning, making shit money, and I'm watching and I'm reading in the newspaper that all these people had been hired at Mad Dog Radio. By the 7th fucking week, I was enraged. I was pissed off. They hadn't communicated with me. They hadn't called me. Nothing. So I told my wife, I said, Erin, we're packing up our shit. All of our stuff is back in Colorado in storage anyway. We're packing up our stuff. We're going back to Denver. She said, what are you going to do? I said, I have no fucking idea. But I'm getting out of here. This whole thing has been an enormous clusterfuck. It's been an enormous waste of time. And all of these fucking people that they hired don't hold a candle to what I could do for this fucking channel. So we load up our stuff. We drive back across the country to Colorado. We get into Denver. When we got into Denver, the night that we did, we had $100 to our name. No credit cards, no debit cards, not a fucking thing. We had enough money to check into a Motel 6 that night when we got back into Denver. I'll never forget this. The next day we woke up, we looked at each other, we had to check out by 11 o'clock, and said, where the fuck are we going? Where are we staying tonight? Because we didn't have enough money to stay another night in a motel anywhere. So I knew this woman, this old Italian woman who owned, probably, they still own the best Italian delicatessen deli in Denver. And I knew she knew a lot of people in this particular neighborhood, which was not a very good neighborhood in Denver, but at that point I was desperate. I would have taken a fucking tent in somebody's backyard at that point. And I went into her deli because I used to go there all the time, and I said, Maria, she hadn't seen me in 7 weeks, obviously. I said, listen, I'm back in town, and I desperately need to find a place for my family. Do you know anyone? Serendipity. She says, yes, through her broken English. She says, I know someone who's got an apartment for rent right now, not too far from here. Out of the blue, I got a call from Alan Sanders, my agent, and he said, hey, Mad Dog Radio, Steve Torrey called me today. They want you to do a weekend show. They want you to do shows on Saturday and Sunday, 4 hours per day. And, so what am I going to say at that point? I said, okay, fine. No problem. Yeah, great. Awesome. 1 week goes by again. 2 weeks goes by again. I'm not hearing anything. Oh, well, they're setting this up, a lot of moving parts, so on and so forth. And so I just had finished a job. I remember this day. It was cold. It was rainy. And I was making my way back home, and I got on I-25 in Colorado, and I was making my way home. And just out of the blue, I decided to call my agent to see, hey, have you heard anything, whatever. And he picks up the phone, and he says to me, didn't you get my message today? I said, no. I was, apparently, it just went over my head, whatever. I didn't check my phone or whatever. He said, I got great news for you. He says, they don't want you to do a weekend show anymore. They want you to do a full-time show for them. And I was ecstatic. I mean, I was absolutely ecstatic, you know. And I mean, I probably, after I had done talking on the phone with my agent, I did probably 100 miles an hour on my way home because I couldn't wait to tell my wife that, you know, finally the worm had turned and, you know, something had happened for us. I debuted on October the 5th, 2009, and have been there ever since. So quite a confluence of things that went on there for a long time before I finally got to SiriusXM radio, but I guess better late than never. Getting ready to go in and do my first show here in New York City in more than 9 months. This time from the state-of-the-art studios in New York City!
Well, I think when you have the free form where you can just kind of go for 48 minutes every hour, things come out of you that maybe wouldn't if you had to stop and regroup. When there's less planning, it's organic and just kind of comes naturally. And I think that's what a lot of people are drawn to too. It's the organic feel of the show. You don't know where it's going to go.
None of what I do on the air is ever contrived. It's never scripted. I mean, it is in the moment. If I'm in the moment and I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, or I'm glad, or if I'm excitable, or if I'm depressed, or if I'm really, at times, you know, depending upon what I'm talking about on the air, if I'm angry to the point of getting into a rage, you know, this doesn't happen with consistency, but if it does happen, it's real, it's authentic.
Hey, Gerberg, will you be a little quieter over there?
He's yelling the names.
Man, Scott, where you calling from, Scott? Yeah, Dino will get right to you.
I couldn't believe, really not, I couldn't believe the reception I got from some of the people when I came into the building today.
What was that?
I mean, I half expected, you know, balloons to fall from the ceiling and confetti, you know, and Stevie Cohen seemed to be smitten with it.
Yeah, he was in a good mood.
Whoa.
He was happy.
So we go into Lids, you know, where they sell the hats. Of course. Well, Joel Franco, he's got a heart of gold, this guy. And he says, you know what, I want to get Chris a hat. Chris Russo. Says, what kind of a hat do you think I should get him? I said, well, he's a big Giants fan. It's the only thing he really cares about is, you know, he's not a big sports fan, Russo, but he loves the Giants.
Loves the Giants.
So Joel Franco gets Russo a beautiful San Francisco Giants hat.
That was nice of him.
Well, not only was that an incredibly nice gesture, benevolent doesn't even begin to describe it. But now, we just came from upstairs in the sports office. Do you know where the hat is?
No, where?
The hat is still in its damn bag upstairs. Do you know Russo doesn't even take the damn thing home?
You just left it here?
Just left it here.
Jeez.
Listen, we're giving away a San Francisco Giants hat on the show here today and tonight. So if you're a Giants fan and you want that hat, I will give it away to a Giant. So you got to be listen, I'm going to vet you too. I'm going to ask you some questions about the Giants. If you can answer some questions about the San Francisco Giants, this hat costs Joel Franco $40. It's beautiful. It's orange and black, and it's got the 50th anniversary of the San Francisco Giants logo on the side of it. Let me try to vet you to see if you can win the San Francisco Giants hat. Here's an easy one. This is easy. He used to author before his games that he pitched. He used to boast that he was going to shut this team out. He was going to allow only 2 hits to this team. He might throw a no-hitter against this team. He had a nickname. He was a pitcher for the Giants in the 70s and in the early 80s. What was his name?
John the Count of Montefusco.
Wow, okay, so you're 1 for 1. Who was the Giants shortstop, let's say 1979 through 1982-83?
You mean Johnny LeMaster, who famously wore the word boo on his shirt when he came up to bat one time in a home game?
2 for 2. My goodness, this guy is good. He no-hit the New York Mets. I think the year was 1975. You get this one, you get the Giants hat.
I thought it was 76. You mean Ed Ho-Ho Halicki?
Give this man the hat. Give this man the hat. Get his address. Get that hat out in the mail. That's a Giants fan for you right there. You piece of shit. You suck a big elephant dick.
You ungrateful motherfucker. When someone gives you a hat. We gave away your fucking hat last night on the show. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. That's what I thought. Fuck you.
Well, we came down the stairs at one point here today, and I'm greeted at the bottom of the stairs by Adam Shine. He can't even say hello like a normal human being. Does Adam Shine use that voice all the time?
Yeah, he never turns it off.
Yes.
I mean, my God. Oh, Dino. I can't even do his voice. Hey, look at it. It's Dino. Yeah, Adam, turn off the broadcasting voice for once, will you please? Sound like a normal fucking person for once.
Well, I think there's something you can find in him that kind of relate to yourself. And there's something for everyone there. Even if people that don't, that might not agree with him, they respect the passion, and I think people are drawn to that. He forms a connection with an audience. That's really rare.
Dino tweeted, he's 10 blocks away from my office. I said, I gotta go see this guy. Walk in, guy gives me a hug. I mean, best guy ever. Look at this guy.
Like, you open up a refrigerator, you pick different things. When I'm in the mood for Dino, boom, I go to Dino. No one else sounds like Dino. No one else talks like Dino. No one else is Dino.
Again, I feel bad for Browns fans, and I look at the owners that you've had there that have owned your football team ever since Modell pathetically ripped that team out of the city's heart and brought it to Baltimore when he did. I was an independent furniture moving contractor in New York. And I read in the newspaper that the Quad City River Bandits had fired their broadcaster, a guy by the name of Mike Capps. This was on a Sunday. I read this in the New York Daily News. I was at a diner, paid my check, and I went home and I called up this place, the Quad City. I didn't even know where the Quad Cities was. I had to look it up, And the general manager answered the phone, a guy by the name of Tim Bowman, and he said, "Well, we're a week away from the season and I've got to hire someone within the next couple days." He said, "Do you have any experience?" And I said, I've got a little bit of experience. I did some part-time play-by-play work for a professional team in Westchester County, New York, but it was part-time. And he said, "Well, send me whatever tape you can." He called me back 2 days later. And he said that if you want the job, I like your aggression and your proactiveness and your energy that you show. And I knew that it was either at that point, either I was going to pursue this lifelong passion that I'd had but never had an opportunity to really approach before, or it was going to be time to give it up forever.
If you're a Jets fan, please, I hope you're not down in the dumps, because as great a player as Rivas is, he is a humongous pain in the ass. I mean, he is a humongous pain in the ass. And don't be surprised if you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. I know you're excited. You got one of the, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. But I got to tell you something. I'm standing in front of 53 Harriet Street, where we used to live, and on the big hill. And now it's a Creative Word Chapel. Yeah. So this is it. The building behind me is the building that I came home to when I was born. This is 53 Harriet Street in Yonkers, New York. My grandfather and grandmother bought this place, and they raised 5 kids in this apartment, house, excuse me. But this area around here was much, much different 50 years ago. I mean, this was very clean. It was very well kept. And as you can see with some of the landscape as we've driven around, this place has really gone to shit. Nobody, unless they were forced to live in this area, would live here. It's not safe. It's not what it once was. This used to be a beautiful community. Up these steps and back, this little alley here is where we had a small backyard, and my grandfather had his garden back here, and he loved to plant vegetables and tend to his garden. He loved to do that throughout his entire life. Wow. So obviously this was the backyard, and my grandfather had his garden back here, and he used to come back here and spend a lot of time and sleep back here occasionally. When I was a toddler,
because I had such a propensity to apparently run away, or when my mother wasn't looking, dash out the door and go outside and go over to Mrs. White's candy store, or hang out in the front, you know, in my diaper in the middle of December. My mother, when she would put me here in the backyard, there apparently used to be a clothesline out here, and she would hook up me to the clothesline, tie one end to around my belt loop and the other end to the clothesline, and I could go the length of back and forth here, but I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't go anywhere else. So I guess I was real mischievous.
Big day. We got a big day, big day, big day. Fox News meeting today. We're gonna go to a ball game tonight.
Going in to meet Bill Shine at Fox News and talk about whatever possibilities might exist between what I do and what Fox does, and if there is any kind of a potential parameter fit. So it's my second meeting with Bill. I met him about 3-4 years ago. Be good to be here again at Fox and see what we might be able to do. So one thing I hope this is not. It's a gigantic fucking waste of time. That's my biggest fear. The Fox News meeting with Bill Shine was terrific. I'm going to be on a Fox News show this week. So.
Do you need a return car, or are you just gonna walk back, or whatever?
Yeah, no, if you guys at that, what time are we going to tape? This is the first time I'm doing this show, Red Eye. I've done the Hannity show. I've been on with Megyn Kelly a few times, Imus, but this is the first time I'm doing Red Eye, and it's exciting. I got to tell you, Kaplan, it was the reception I got here today at the good ship SiriusXM radio was extraordinary. When I walked into the sports newsroom upstairs on floor 37, man, I expected balloons to fall from the ceiling and confetti to rain down on me. I mean, people were genuinely thrilled to see me.
Yeah, there was a lot of hugs.
What a bunch of bullshit that was. I mean, I told you before we went out to lunch, I brought Kaplan out to lunch, and I said that, well, Kaplan, they saw us coming up the stairs, or they saw me coming up the stairs, and they said, oh, that rat bastard is here. Act like the operative word in the sentence. Act like we're happy that Dino is back in the building. I miss Cheyenne already. I miss Wyoming. I hope my studio back there is all right.
Yes, hi, Boo. Hi, Rosie Roo. What a pretty girl. Knock, knock. Who's there?
You know, my mom's been through a hell of a lot. You know, my dad put her through a hell of a lot. She's had a very painful life in a lot of respects. She hasn't had the life that she deserved. And with the estranged relationship I had with my father growing up, my mother served in a dual capacity. She was my mom and she was my dad. You know, she was the one who was there for me. If there was any mentoring that was done, it was my mom who tried to do it. It wasn't always easy, you know. We didn't always agree on everything, but she means everything to me. In short, she means absolutely everything to me. Her health, her well-being, her state of mind, her ability to live life to the fullest extent. I love having my mother around me, talking, laughing, crying, just living life every single day. If I need to talk to someone, it's my brother, it's my mother, but my childhood and any of the memories that I have of positive nature are all designed around my mother and her upbringing of me and the time she spent with me, and it was all my mom. It was all my mom. My birth certificate when I left the hospital said Patrick Dino Ryan. When I was growing up, no one ever called me by my first name, Patrick. Never. I was always Dino. I was on the LA freeway one day talking with my mom on the phone, and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, you know, I want to use my name, finally, that I've used all these years, my given name, Dino. I want to use it on the air out here, but I have a conundrum. I need to find a last name to go along with this Dino that's going to fit. And Dino Costa is a creation of my mother. Because, and I don't know how she thought about this, but she said, listen, my last name is Costanzo. C-O-S-T-A-N-Z-O. Costanzo. I said, Dino Costanzo. It's not, Mom, it's too ethnic sounding. She said, no. Why don't you shorten it? Why don't you just take the C-O-S-T-A? Dino Costa. Done.
Blah, blah, blah. I can go to human resources, and his ass would never work in radio again. I'm like, what?
Listen now, there's no guarantee I'm going to be here after August.
Okay.
I don't see we might as well put a microphone in front of us.
My goodness.
New York City like I am here today.
Robert, where are you calling from?
Are you gonna tell me Russo is a mainstream draw?
He's a better draw than you.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Better draw.
What makes him a better draw than me? Tell me.
He's just more likable. You're just not a likable guy in the mainstream sense. That might be a hard thing.
Hold on.
No, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to be a mainstream guy.
I enjoy the interaction with the people who listen to me, and you know, one of the real good things about doing this show, this national show over the last 5 years, is the amount of relationships that I've been able to gain with people that I otherwise wouldn't have known.
The first time I ever sent him anything was probably about a month after I started listening, and it was in November.
Yeah.
And November of 2012, and I sent him a long email explaining how he changed my life. And a week later, he responded, "Who is this?" And I had to, clarify everything I wrote, and he, I'm not sure if he wrote back to me, but I started on Twitter, and he started responding to me, and then we ended up, talking, and then he got real sick, and he needed help, and I called in some prescriptions for him to get better, and...
I turn it on, I listen to Dino. This is probably May of last year, 2012. And ever since then, I've been a Dino Costa fan. The way he talked, the way he spoke. If I was to do sports talk radio, I'd duplicate exactly how he does it. The vulgarity, the honesty, the sincerity, the knowledge of sports, which is the most important thing, which is what he's doing. And I took a liking to Dino immediately.
The passion he has. He asked me a few minutes ago, do I have passion in what I do? I said, the only thing in my life I really have passion for, besides being a father, is listening to Dino. He brings out that part of me, that the things I can't say to people without offending them, It's just something that I wish I could say. Like, I want to say that, but he does it for me.
I guess Danica became upset at a few things, and one of the other drivers told her to shut the fuck up and just race. Just shut up and race, bitch. She's a terrible race car driver. She's a gimmick more than anything else, and she shouldn't be in auto racing's top circuit.
It's April the 26th, 2013, and I'm back in the school that I graduated from back in 1981, and we really wanted to find the 1981 Carmel High School yearbook. We went to the library, and we couldn't find. We found 1980, we found 1982, not 1981. And through the benevolence of a gentleman by the name of Alan here at the school, we found the 81 yearbook, and this hasn't been in my hands. It's 1981, man, 81.
Go Rams! Go Rams!
Brings me back to when I was, I told you before, the happiest time of my life was during those turbulent, dysfunctional years in my house, but finding my safe haven in my girlfriend, Dawn, and so much of that happened right here. I remember when I met her, she was 15 years old. I was 17. And she was the sun in the morning, the moon at night.
I hated being away from her. I would leave my house at night. You know, her room was downstairs in her house. And when my parents would go to bed, when I was sure that they were asleep, I would leave my bedroom, tiptoe down the stairs, down into the basement, slide open the window, hop out the window, gently close the window, get in my vehicle. Thankfully and luckily for me, our driveway had an incline. So I would just put the key in, put it in neutral, let it roll down. And as it rolled down, it would come out of the driveway, and then there was a little bit of an incline that allowed the car to roll down almost until the end of the road. And I would start it down there. I'd park the car close to her house, and at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I would gently knock on our window, and she'd let me in, and I'd get in bed with her, and we'd go to sleep. So I slept a hell of a lot better on those nights than I did when I was, in my home. I couldn't stand being in my home. I hated it. I hated it. I grew up in a dysfunctional home. I mean, my dad and my mom were often fighting for one reason or another. But I think he might have seen me in so many ways. Darren, my brother, looks like my dad. He's got similar physical features. His mannerisms are more like my dad. I'm more like my mom. I look like my mom, and I don't know if he kind of took out on me, maybe because he kind of related me more to my mother. I don't know, but he was, I was literally terrified of that man for years. I've been married twice after that. I don't think you can ever equal that. As much as you try, I love my wife passionately. But your first love, your first true love. A lot of times people think they fall in love at a young age, and sometimes it's just infatuation or it's, other things. But what we had was real. Somebody told me a long time ago, you can't live on love. Love doesn't pay the bills. I learned that at a heavy price. There she is. Here's my wife. Well, she turned out to be my wife. That was my high school sweetheart, Dawn Ryan, and eventually became the mother to our son, Joey. Joseph Michael Ryan. My little warlock, I used to call him. Born on Halloween, 1984. The greatest accomplishment of my life. Easily. If there was anything good that I did, it was all embodied in him. I had always determined long before Joey was born that I would have the complete opposite of the relationship that I had with my own father growing up. We had the epitome of what a father-son relationship really was all about. I was his hero. He was my heart. We did so many things together. I taught him how to play sports, taught him how to play baseball, taught him how to play hockey, taught him how to play football. One of the things that I talk about on my show all the time is that you never see a father and a son having a catch with each other. And this young man's name is Angel, and he's out here, and he was playing with his dad, and I couldn't resist. I asked him if he would have a catch with me. We were separated when he was just about between 9 and 10 years old. I had fell into financial disrepair at the time. One of the times in my life was that time. Got into a depressionatory sort of a state. Problems with my ex-wife in terms of support issues, which have since been resolved. And she took him and she moved upstate, well upstate. She got remarried. We had great conversations. The one thing I remember about Joey when he was smaller, when he was 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and of course, you know, I had visitation rights on weekends with Joey, and I would go and I would pick him up. And I remember the conversations we used to have. They weren't, you know, it wasn't like, you know, the kind of conversations that a lot of parents have with their kids at that age. I mean, Joey was always inquisitive, always asking, even at that age, interesting questions. And one time we were driving home, and I was running my landscape business at the time. And he used to tell me things about what he wanted to do when he got older. And at one time during this conversation, he said, Daddy, he said, when I grow up, I want to be a landscaper like you and a hockey player. I want to be both. And I said, well, Joey, that's great. I said, you know, you can do that. And he paused for a minute. And then he looked at me and he said, Daddy, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I mean, to Chris in his 1 o'clock slot and you in the evenings. And it don't get much better than that.
Well, you're right, and it is SiriusXM radio, and it's the best radio out there, and, you know, see, Kaplan, there are some people that love Chris.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Good stuff. Taylor's in Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Taylor.
We're at the Scar Inn, 54th and 2nd, New York City. We got Johnny Dogs is over there. We got a lot of famous people here. Giuliani was sitting here just the other day, 2 days ago. I'm here now, and now Dino's here. My name is Alan. I was born to be famous, and now I'm famous. I'm here with Dino, Big Dino. That's right. Famous. Yeah. Now I'm famous by association.
Dino gives you the real deal, you know? He tells you who he really is, not some phony caricature of himself.
So many of the elements that are part of the radio show now are exceptionally transferable. So what I want to do is I want to take a lot of what I'm doing on the radio show, transfer it to a television show, but build upon it with visual things that obviously are not a part of the radio equation. I told HBO that, quite frankly, knowing the kind of skill set that I'm in possession of and knowing the kind of vision and the kind of creativity that this show needs to have, they can look high and low across this country. There is no one who's going to be able to pull off this show like I will.
The sky's the limit. I think the biggest problem we have with the show is just exposure. Because I think once people hear it, they're hooked. So the biggest problem is just getting it to people.
And man, are some of these people here at SiriusXM, are they paranoid about this film? Paranoid.
Yeah, nobody wants to do an interview.
Not only that, they're restricting where they can film, where they can go, who they can show. You know, you'd think this wasn't SiriusXM radio. You'd think this was the Pentagon, for crying out loud. So anyway, I mean, there's so much damn stuff I want to get. I don't even know where to start. I'm just so excited to be back here, I think, for the day and for this week in New York and seeing Kaplan. Kaplan's lost some weight, by the way.
Yeah, we're on a diet.
You've been looking, have you been exercising, or is it just the diet?
Yeah, do some exercising.
You're doing well.
Yeah, I gotta look good for this film.
You're doing real? Oh. So you knew the film was coming up and you said, I gotta lose some weight.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, I'll carry Sophie. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're welcome, honey. Come on. I want to come across as Dino. I want to come across as real. I want to come across as authentic. I want to come across in all of the ways that define me, whether it's good or bad. Flawed, defective, warts, frailties, insecurities. You know, I think that people, if they listen to the show, they feel as though they know me. And even though we don't, you know, wherever the listener is who listens to me, they probably listened to me for 4 or 5 years or for 2 or 3 months or whatever. But I think that no matter how long they've been listening to me, I think that one of the things that is established clearly is that we have a relationship, even though we're not friends, even though we're not associates, we have developed. In the mind of the listener, he feels like I'm his friend He might get mad at me one day, he may disagree with a lot of what I say, but I'm there every day telling him what's on my mind.
Now, this is not a movie about SiriusXM. This is a movie about me. So you can say, you have every right to say what, you have carte blanche. You say whatever you want. Doesn't matter. And don't hold back. I don't want you to hold back. Are you going to say anything negative about me? Like what? Can you give me like a little sample? Well, I mean, why would you say anything negative about me?
What you hear on the radio, what you see on TV with him, that is Dino Costa. 100%. He's authentic in what he says. I mean, there's no...
And no shtick.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just got this personality that just kind of draws you in.
Is that what drew you into me?
I think so.
Yeah. 888-MAD-DOG-6 if you want to get on the phone with my gorgeous wife. My hot, 31-year-old, hard-bodied, sexy, model-looking wife.
I'll see you later.
Hold on a second, hon. I did, because, you know, when I bring my mother on, everybody wants to talk to my mother. I'm wondering if somebody out there wants to talk to my wife.
And all of a sudden, I heard this guy on the radio. Come on, Kaplan, come on. We got to try to get 100 calls in as quick as we can. And it was just the voice. And I listened to him, and he just took me in. And the things he was talking about weren't sports, and it was a sports channel. So the first things that I realized about Dino was you don't have to always talk sports.
He talks about his religion on the air all the time, and as a Jew, I love it. I absolutely love hearing about his Christian faith. Don't ask me why, because it's compelling. It's interesting.
It's my feeling that we don't find God. God finds us. That's my own feeling on that. And in 1998, I had a revelation, a life-changing moment where after knocking on my door, and I only saw this afterward, but after knocking on my door countless times throughout my life, and me never opening the door, God knocked on my door in 1998. This time I opened the door. And when I opened the door, from an eternal standpoint, it changed my life completely. So in 1998, I was in my first, or 1997, excuse me, I was really in my first year of working full-time in the broadcasting industry. And I nearly was fired from the job because I was a wise guy and because I was very immature and because I fell in with the wrong people in the front office with the team I was working with. And I was doing play-by-play in the Midwest League in the Quad Cities, Davenport, Iowa. And one day we were getting set to leave on the bus early morning to go on a 3-city, 9-day road trip. And as I was packing my belongings, getting ready at my apartment to drive down to the stadium, park my car, get on the bus, and go with the team, for some odd reason, I grabbed my Bible, which I never did. And I didn't even have any understanding of the Bible. I mean, at all. At that point in my life, I would probably, in fact, I know I would have considered someone who believes and possesses the knowledge that I do now about Christ and the Bible, the New, the Old Testament, and everything I believe. I probably would have considered someone back then, the day before I picked up that Bible to bring it on the road trip with me, I probably would have considered them to be a nutcase, you know, a Bible thumper, or some condescending description. I don't know why I picked up the Bible, but I know that I was asking God to steady me.
All right, but based on what? I mean, give me the criteria that you think should be existent. Forget about Sacramento, any professional franchise. Show me the benchmarks that you think. Tell me what they are. You think the benchmark should be what? In order for a franchise to have justifiable reasons to seek to relocate to another town, what would that be?
I think when you talk about sports and when you talk about sports talk hosts, rarely, if ever, will any sports talk host raise, even in a little way, if they possess a Christian faith, they'll never talk about it because, you know, for one reason or another. But I think that there are times where it's called for, if it makes sense and if there's a connection to what I'm talking about, and I can use my Christian vision as an understanding of why I feel like I feel. I mean, if you really want to be honest, if you really want to speak your mind, if you really want to tell your audience what you think, in this day and age, we live in the United States of the offended. And there's so many people that are offended by what you say.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, abortions. I believe, if I remember correctly, three abortions, 3 different women. My worldview at the time was completely different from what it is right now. If my worldview now, if I was in possession of the worldview now that I have back then, there would be 3 children, full-grown adults by this point, that would be walking this earth. I don't even know how God in heaven forgives me for that.
Nobody has ever said to me, since I've been with SiriusXM, don't say this, or we don't like that you hold this opinion. Or, you know something, you said that, and this one might be upset, and this group might make a phone call, and this one might protest, and this one might... There's never been any of that. None of that bullshit.
My father was a bad motherfucker. And he'd always blame Dino for everything. But he was always, since I was a baby, the way we grew up.
Was he protecting you?
Absolutely, always.
So he took the brunt of it so that you wouldn't?
You have no idea, yes. Yeah, he took the brunt of it.
There were a lot of times I used to wonder what our house, what our home would be like without my father. And I hate to admit this now, but there were nights where I used to hope, maybe even pray a little bit, that he wouldn't come home. Yeah, no, Dad, they just want to ask you a few questions. But I can't answer for you. I mean, you have to answer for yourself. I can't answer for you. I can talk about you.
Yeah. Look what I wore for you. I saw that. You got a stone. I got something underneath it.
I'm never going to be able
You
to
got
not
something
recognize
underneath it. Watch this. This is for you. In honor of you.
Wow, where'd you get that?
You like that?
Oh my goodness,
You like that?
Nice.
You like that?
Wow. No.
Take it.
No.
Take it, because I know you it means a lot.
Come on, no, come
Take
on.
it.
Come on, stop.
No, you can have it.
Yeah.
My gift to you.
Oh my goodness, so you put it in me. Huh?
It's good on you. No, he loves this jersey. Yeah, Seattle Pilots. I think it was Jim Bouton.
Huh? My good friend Nick Totoro. Huh?
How are you?
Huh?
You know, the problem with this world is when you're a little passionate and you're a little intense, they mistaken it for he's angry, he's a nut job. Because I've asked people about it and they'll be like, he's a little bit of a loaded gun. And I'm like, you don't know the guy. I'm like, how do you know he's really crazy?
Be who you want to be. If that's who he is, that's who he is. But I know where a lot of that's coming from. Sometimes it's just coming from frustration, you know, and not being heard, or not being understood, or not given a chance, or just hey, you know what? Good job, Dino. Yeah. We're glad to have you on the team. Put me on the team. You know what I mean? Put me in, coach. I know the feeling. I've fucking been there.
I was homeless for just about 6 weeks, and whether you're homeless for 6 weeks or 6 years or 6 months or however long, it is I became acutely aware of just how terrifying that reality is after only one day of being homeless. I lived in a van. I slept in my van. I was working sporadically. I would use my van during the day to work, and during the rest of the time I used it as my living headquarters. And I remember the very first day that I was homeless, and the impact and the moment that it hit me was I had finished work. I was delivering and installing furniture for a dinette store. And I think they were paying me at the time approximately $50 a day cash, plus whatever tips I could get during the day. But I went to a Wendy's restaurant, and I ordered the food, and I stayed in my van, and I actually parked in the parking lot, got up out of my seat, brought the food to the back of the van, sat down like I am right now, and started to eat. And I think I had a newspaper with me, and I was eating my burger and finishing my meal. When I finished my meal and I put the garbage back in the Wendy's bag and rolled it up, it hit me for the very first time that day. Where am I going now? I had nowhere to go. Well, we're in the area of Manhattan where Columbus Circle is, and Central Park. And actually, before my broadcast career actually got started, my girlfriend at the time, who would later go on to become my second wife, she worked in this area, and I was moving furniture at the time. And at the end of my day, I would come down here most every day and pick her up. There's so many unresolved issues that still remain. I was 33 at the time, and she was 22. So, you know, it was about 7 months after I met her that I actually took the job in Davenport, Iowa. I was out there for the first 3 or 4 months of the season, and then Jennifer came out and joined me, and I proposed to her in Iowa, and then we got married that October. We had a child together, Caitlin, and I saw Caitlin. I mean, I held her in my arms when she was an infant. We were apart at the time, Jennifer and myself, so 2 marriages lasting just about a year. 2 devastating feelings at the end of each of them, but different devastating feelings and for different reasons. But when I would go to visit Joey on a Sunday and spend time with him downstairs alone in Dawn's room, and knowing that she was moving on with her life with other people, I mean, it was it was, as I said before, it was an interminable feeling. And 13 years later, or 14 years later, to go through that same thing again with Jennifer, I don't think I could have stood that. I don't think I would have been able to bear something like that. And that's why I chose to immediately take a job that was offered to me about 600 miles away, and maybe hope against hope that she would join me, and it just didn't happen. I have tried to reach out to her several times in the hopes that she would talk to me, in the hopes that I could at least have the opportunity to introduce myself to a daughter that I don't know. So it is what it is. To me, doing my show, and I can only speak for me, but doing my show it's an all-consuming process on a daily basis. It's all-consuming. Probably more consuming than it should be. Probably to the detriment of, in many cases, my family life. You know, I had a great meeting with SiriusXM the other day. I mean, I had a phenomenal meeting with SiriusXM the other day, and I can't reveal right now, for the purposes of confidential agreements, I can't reveal really what we spoke about, but the future looks to be exciting and prosperous for both myself and for SiriusXM. This is a relationship that I would be shocked after my last meeting with them was not going to be something that continued well on into the future. I'm very excited. I'm optimistic. I'm energized by their plans, what they feel about me, many things they revealed about their feelings concerning me over the last 5 years. It leads me to believe that the best is yet to come with SiriusXM, that the start of what I've developed here is going to be able to continue, and I can't wait to get going. But it's about time. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's about time that that we've had these conversations, and it's a shame that these conversations and these dual matching parameters that were so evident during this meeting the other day took so long to get to this point, because certainly over the first 5 years I've been there, I've had my battles, I've had my disagreements, I've been suspended twice, I've come, at least this close to being fired a couple different times. But, I've said forever that there is no better of a parameter fit of me, what I do, and the organization that is SiriusXM. It is the absolute perfect match.
And Jeff Francis better pitch his ass off at Coors Field tonight, because the Braves are coming in and they've got
because the show is not guest intensive by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a matter of, just working with someone who understands the flow and the philosophy and the vision of the show. And Andrew gets that completely. Unlike a lot of other guys I worked with who wanted it to be regimented and formatted and...
Yeah, I used to see these other producers who want to put all these roadblocks in your way. We got a guest here, you're getting rolling all, you got a break for a guest, you got a break for an update, and I was like, you gotta let Dino be Dino. And just get out of his way.
MMA over boxing. Come on now. Wait, hold on a second. Wait, you're going to compare MMA. Okay, let me ask you something. Where's the history of that?
94 was the last year I saw Joey. His formative years I missed completely. His development into a young man I missed completely. Those are years, obviously, that both Joey and myself would never reclaim. Joey. We got a couple of pictures of him up in the house. That's when he's growing into a young man, and here he is when he's a baby. One of the cutest babies ever. Right there. Last time I spoke to him, he was 9 years old. Now I was speaking to him when he was 22. So you could imagine the almost unbelievable impact of a moment like that, where you remember your boy is a little boy, and now a young man is calling you on the phone. We spoke on the phone during that first conversation for 5 hours. 5 hours. We concluded the conversation by Joey telling me, "Dad, let me have a few more days. I'd like to come out and see you in Colorado, but I need a few days to get my thoughts together," and which was completely understandable. Phone rang the next day. It was Joey. "Daddy, I want to come see you. Right now, I want to come see you." I had my brother go up, pick him up upstate, bring him down to his house. Joey stayed there for 2 days, 3 days. Got on a plane, flew out to Denver International Airport. Went down there. The anticipation was, as you can imagine, very high. Nervous, excited, butterflies, the whole thing. And he walked past me as I was turning around. As he was looking for me, I was looking for him. And he dropped his luggage onto the floor. And we had an embrace right there at the airport. But he was different. He had his own ideas now, and don't forget, he didn't grow up with my influence for 13 years. And it was a struggle at times. never fought with my son ever before, ever. We had a couple of fights and a couple of verbal disagreements, and one time it was bad. And he said something to me that, and I heard it coming not from a 22-year-old young man, but I heard it coming out of the mouth of a 9 and 8 and 7-year-old little boy. He said, "Fuck you." We were in Denver at the time, and I was living north of Denver at the time, so we got back in the car and we headed home. He went downstairs, and I came downstairs to see him, and I broke down in front of him, and just, I don't think I've cried that hard since. It had been many years since I'd cried so hard. Because it wasn't 22-year-old Joey telling me that, it was 9-year-old Joey telling me that, and I couldn't handle that. He was into rhyming, and he was into poetry, and he desperately wanted to be a rap musician, which greatly disappointed me. Only because I never really related to that genre of music, and being a white kid in a black-dominated industry, I didn't know if I saw a future in that for him, and I didn't want him in that future. I felt that he was better than that. We battled about that. But I didn't have anything to offer him at the time, and he went back to Seattle after about 3 or 4 months, and I live in the past. I live in the past so much. So much. It's almost, it consumes, so much that it consumes me. You know, I wish I could just close all those doors and walk away. Close them, leave the past behind, and that's it. I'm 50 years old and I'm still incapable of doing that. Whether it's my immediate family, whether it's my dad, whether it's my mom, whether it's my home life back then, high school here, my marriage, my second marriage, children. I can't let any of it go. It is beyond frustrating to not have this show recognized by the very company that I hold incredible love for. I mean, and if they invest it, listen, I've done all this stuff with no publicity, none. This company has not spent a dime on promoting my show. And so I asked myself, what would we be able to do if we were a featured attraction that was actually promoted by SiriusXM?
Fear not, Dino's coming back.
Big Dino dinner, huh?
Dino!
Team Dino, my biggest fan.
Team Dino is showing! How you doing, man?
Man, this is great. This is great.
3 years ago, Met Yankee game. Me and Dino had lunch together. Went to the ball game. It was a blast. It was a blast. The man is down to earth. The man is honest. You can't say nothing bad about him.
I had the biggest hug from him. And I came in tonight never meeting him before in my life, but I felt like I knew him my entire life. And tonight's been magical. Just his aura, just being around him. You know, and being able to talk to him as like a great friend, and the honesty and this stuff he's asking me, it's, you know, he's more than just a friend, more than just a radio host. He's changed my life. He's changed the way I think. He's made me more open-minded to question society, to question the things that are happening in front of me, and to that I owe. I owe everything.
Dino Costa, number one, baby, Dino Costa, best talk show host in the world for sports radio. Eat your heart out.
Dino Costa is probably the most important voice in America, and I hope that after his contract expires in Sirius, he's able to branch out into his own channel on Sirius.
How we doing, guys? Armando, Wise Man Sports, piece of the rock drywall. I hang drywall all day long. And Mr. Dino Costa put me to the test with Armando. Get a fucking website. Guys, call me up. You know what Armando said? He said this. Armando said that. So I says, It was all lies.
I've been listening to Dino for about 3 years, and I can't say I agree with Dino on everything, but I think the entertainment value he brings is just keeps you listening even when you disagree.
What I love about Dino is he's compelling, he's real, he's everything that the industry should be about. There's no airs about him. You know, I know that there's no fake outrage. Now, we disagree a lot, but you got to respect a guy that comes and talks off the top of his head. And what's really good about Dino is that he's what's good about the industry. He's self-made. He's working his way up through the ranks. You know, there's no politics with him. He's trying to do it on his own.
All right, everybody raise your glass. Raise your glass. All my friends! Woo! Down the hatch, salute.
Dino Costa, SiriusXM, Mad Dog Radio, #1.
Holy shit! Isaac, you ham and egger!
Isaac!
You ham and egger, Isaac! I'll kick your ass, Isaac!
He went to Seattle because he knew some people there that he believed could help further and advance his fledgling career as a rap music artist. I didn't realize how bad these guys were. I understand the whole rap culture, and there have been guys who have, died. They've been shot. There've been East Coast rap wars, West Coast, that whole thing. But if I had known that some of these people that he was running with out there were bad people, I never would have let him go. And I told him, if you come back, Joe, I said, I'd like to have you as my producer and maybe get you in the industry in some way. And he called me back the next day. He said, Dad, I want to get out of here. I really do. And how's this radio thing going? And I'd love to come back there. And I told him it would take a little bit more time. I was working at a commercial feedlot, cattle feedlot up in northern Colorado. It's January 3rd. I came home from a long, long day. It was a Saturday. And I immediately wanted to go to sleep because I needed to get up and be at the feedlot early on Sunday morning. Went to sleep. Actually fell asleep on the couch that evening. Phone rang at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I missed the call. I didn't get to the call in time. I looked, and it was a 518 area code, which is upstate New York. And I recognized the number as that of my ex-wife, Joey's mother. First thing I thought about was that Joey must be in some sort of trouble. Something might have happened. Maybe he's arrested. You think maybe car accident, something. So I immediately called back, and when Dawn picked up the phone, all I heard was Joey's sister in the background wailing. And I knew, before she even told me. And she said, "We lost Joey." I said, eventually got around to asking her what happened. He was shot at a club in Seattle. The guilt that washed over me immediately was deep. almost felt like I wasn't hearing it right. But it was true. As I got into my teen years and certainly into my 20s and so on and so forth, I was always fascinated with the Western culture. I must have been maybe 9 or maybe no more than 10 years old. And I brought this book home on rodeo and cowboys, and I loved it so much. I went out back, and I had my dungarees on, and I saw how these guys were, you know, down in the dirt, getting dirty, and steer wrestling, and bull riding, and doing all these things. And since there was nothing for me to, you know, steer wrestle with or bull ride, we had a dirt pile in the backyard, and I would just, you know, flop around in the dirt pile and make believe that I was, you know, doing some of the things that I would see in the pictures. Man, it's the best part of my day. I got to tell you that right now. It is the best part of my day when I get to come in front of the microphone and empty the contents of my mind. Across America, it is around the world. It is the Dino Costa Show on SiriusXM's one and only Mad Dog Radio, SiriusXM 86. And online around planet Earth, of course, we do it at Sirius. I think as I've gotten older, you know, the slower pace, the ebb and flow of a small town, the closeness of a small town, you know, the lack of hustle and bustle is something that I really relish at this point in my life. I can't see ever giving this up. And I'll tell you this, that if I had grown up out here, my life definitely, and I can say this without any reservation, that my life would have been completely different. Time for another show. It was last year at about this time when I first spoke words into the microphone here in Wyoming, here out in my beloved Mountain West, and I said to myself, you're home. When I did go back to the East Coast, I tried to reacclimate back to the East Coast, and it didn't click, it didn't work, I felt like a foreigner in an area that I knew where I was, but I knew that it was a place that I was no longer a part of, that I had moved on. As I look at the clock, I've just got a minute or two left here, so let me say this really quick. What we've established here together, and you notice that I say we, because this is a collective, a joint enterprise between me and my audience. So many of you don't know me, but you feel like you know me because we have developed a bond on the air over the last 5 years. We've built this collectively together. This Dino Costa worldwide radio experience has been something that both of us, all of us, have built. And it's been 5 years. But I got to tell you, and you probably feel like me, I would imagine many of you do. This is really only the start.
Thanks for listening to a Friday show. Thanks to Andrew Kaplan. Thanks to Rich Mendes and Mr. Joshua Mile High salute to you, sir. You've just finished listening to a Friday edition, rendition and episode of the worldwide Dino Costa radio experience here, only here, on SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio. Have a great weekend.